Ever wondered how the process of writing a book can actually transform your teaching? Today, I'm bringing on my friend and my first ever life coach, Lizzie Langston, on the podcast to chat about the real story and struggles behind me writing the book, Educate and Rejuvenate. We're diving into the breakthroughs and personal growth it took to bring my book to life. And Lizzie was a huge part of it, as you'll hear on the show, and why these insights might just change how you show up in the classroom. Welcome to Educate and Rejuvenate, the podcast, episode 157, Behind the Scenes of Book Writing with Lizzie Langston. Welcome to Educate and Rejuvenate, the podcast to help you revitalize your teaching, renew your spirit, and reignite your passion for life. I'm your host, Kelsey Sorensen, a former teacher, current homeschool mom, published author, and certified life coach. Whether you are a teacher in a traditional classroom, homeschool from your kitchen table, or anywhere in between, I am on a mission to help you not only survive as an educator, but thrive. Get ready to uplevel your skills with incredible insights from guest experts and discover the missing piece, rejuvenating yourself. Are you ready to both educate and rejuvenate? Let's go. Oh my goodness, it is sure sweater weather today over here. I am in my green sweater, as you'll see if you're watching on the Educate and Rejuvenate app. And we just recently, here in the US, had daylight savings. Days are getting darker and colder. And the sweater weather and pumpkin spice are kind of a little bit old news now. Some of you might even be leaving school when it's dark already. So it can be pretty crazy. And sometimes winter, a lot of us start to feel the winter blues as things get so crazy with the holidays. We're feeling stress. We're not getting as much sunshine, that vitamin D. We talked a lot about winter blues last year on the podcast. So if you're feeling it, make sure to scroll back to some of those episodes last year where we really dive deep into that. But I also wanted to give you something to look forward to this winter. And it's really something I'm looking forward to as well. So I'm so excited to announce our winter Educate and Rejuvenate event. For the first time, we're not just doing a little mini event for our club members during the winter break. We are doing a full-fledged event. It is the winter 2024-2025 event. Actually, the live portion is mostly taking part at the beginning of January because we're going to be working on your New Year's goals. That we're going to have a pre-party on December 30th with some really great stuff. But I can't give it all away today because actually this episode is airing on the day of our reveal party on November 19th. Now, there's a good chance you're listening after that. So if you are, go to our website to see the information about the event. If you're listening before December, January 2025, if you're listening later, just look at whatever we've got next. But if you're listening literally as this episode comes out, make sure to check your email and our website to join us at the reveal party tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I cannot wait to share more about this event. We'll have more in next week's episode, if nothing else. But today, I'm sharing an incredible conversation with me and my first ever life coach, Lizzie Langston. This was actually a recording of a call we did during my book launch week, but it was such a good conversation that I wanted to air it again here on the podcast today because most of you probably didn't get to hear it. We had so many lives during that launch week, and this is one of the ones that ended up being rescheduled at kind of a weird time. So I wanted everybody to have a chance to hear this conversation because it was so good. It was so candid. It was so real. And let me tell you, Lizzie, she was my first ever life coach who I started working with after my major panic attack I had in 2019 when I was overwhelmed with homeschooling and postpartum. I've shared that episode near the beginning of the podcast. I share more about that story, so make sure to check that out if you need to. It's also in the book, in the Educate and Rejuvenate book. You'll get to learn more about that story. But what you may not know is that I hired her again as my life coach while I was writing the book, Educate and Rejuvenate, and specifically to help me through the struggles that came up as I was writing the book and helping me when I got stuck. And she actually ended up helping me come up with a framework that was in the book. We're going to teach you the framework if you haven't heard it yet. If you're like, this is maybe your first time tuning in or you didn't listen to the 3-part series back in September when the book was coming out and you aren't familiar with my 3-step coaching framework that I teach in my book, Educate and Rejuvenate, we're going to share a bit about it with you today with some real life examples, back and forth conversation, or review it if you know it and just get to hear it from another vantage point. So you're going to walk away feeling inspired and with some laughs definitely along the way for sure. So let's dive into this awesome interview.
This book, oh my gosh.
I am so thrilled. And it has been so much fun doing this launch party and hearing from those of you. I actually just got my physical copies of the book yesterday. Okay,
Probably should
so what
introduce me, huh? I'm like, they don't know who I
probably should. Probably should. They're like, who's this girl here?
am. Hi, I'm Lizzie. I am a friend of Kelsey's and have been her life coach and business coach before. And what else do we? Oh, we had our first babies on the same day,
We did, but we didn't know this until we known each other for like a year.
April
Which
23rd, 2014.
14.
We both became
Yeah,
a mom that day. How cool is that?
we did. So
Yeah.
cool,
I have
especially
4 kids.
because
I live in Arizona. I've coached postpartum women and I help
yeah,
women through spiritual awakenings. I write
so fun.
poetry.
You're a writer. She's a writer. She's yeah, amazing. So we're talking today because Lizzie was, like she mentioned, actually my first life coach. And in fact, like she mentioned, for so long she's coached postpartum women. And that's how I got connected with Lizzie, is because when I tell the story in my book of when I had my anxiety attack postpartum, right? And this is shortly after it wasn't like I had the first panic attack I talk about in the book was when I was on the floor crying with over a book. But then
In
later
the
on in the
classroom.
book,
That was in the classroom,
it,
right?
that was in the classroom, yes. And then
Yeah.
later in the book, I shared the postpartum one. I thought leaving the classroom was going to solve everything, right? I thought that it was that circumstance that that was going to keep me, like I was going to just be better, right? Like, oh, when I'm not teaching, I'm not going to be anxious anymore. But what I found is it didn't go away.
It
Um,
followed you home. How rude of
it
the
followed me home.
anxiety.
It followed me for like 5 years, right? Because it was my 3rd child when the second
Lame.
one happened, and started getting help, and then ran into you as my postpartum life coach. Hannah says, "Y'all are making me laugh, that kind of giddy laugh when you were tired, and everything is hilarious." Yes. You know
And
what?
the kind of laugh where you didn't realize that you lost your coffee midway through the day, then you just found it, and so you're sipping on it at 7 o'clock at night. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sip
Always a
it
good
tonight.
idea.
Cheers.
Okay.
Here's a memorable story about Kelsey, actually. I will say this. It was the pandemic, and it kind of had just hit us that the world wasn't going to go back to normal after 2 weeks, like all of the people said. And we all thought, okay, it'll be a couple weeks. Well, maybe it'll be a couple months, right? And at the time, Wife Teacher Mommy, which is now Educate and Rejuvenate, at
Yeah.
the time of the pandemic, I'm telling them about the pandemic pivot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The
Many
big
business
pandemic
owners had to
pivot.
do, but I got to watch Kelsey go through it
Oh
and help
yeah.
her through it. It was beautiful. And at the time, she was just serving schools and teachers, like teachers that worked at schools, I should say.
Yeah.
And it was at that time that she realized what a need there really was beyond just the classroom, and extended it to homeschooling parents. And what else did
Well,
you
at the
add?
time, like everybody had turned into kind of a homeschooling parent, right? So it
Oh
was
my
kind
gosh.
of like,
Yes, and I just really
yeah.
loved that even though you had your moment to freak out, like every
Oh,
business owner did in the
I had
world,
my moment for sure. Yeah.
we processed it, right? Like, let's go on walks.
Oh, we did.
You ultimately dug really deep into because you were terrified. Everybody was terrified. And you were like, and not just
Yeah.
about business, but also about the actual virus and like, what is the world doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I remember you just really digging deep and remembering your purpose. You got into that visionary CEO energy that you carry, that's like
Aw.
literally in your blood. It's in your human design. It's one of the gifts you bring into the world. It's like this role model energy, and you just got it out from within you. And you were like, well, what about all the people now that are trying to be teachers who have never been teachers before? You just were like, we're going to do this. And you made a decision, and then you implemented it. And then, of course, it was amazing and successful. And of course, you've served people this way, and families,
Yeah.
children and adults. And it's just been so awesome to watch the impact. And then getting to help you write your book. Let's talk about your book.
Okay, let's talk about the book.
You guys know how hard it is to write a book. You know what a mind warp it is? I watched this poor girl slave over all the things she could say and choose so deliberately what is in this book. And, you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure there were tears. I don't remember a time where you were crying with me, but if I had to guess, I'm sure
Oh,
there were.
there were.
Yeah, and it wasn't like stress. It was like, this is a book. It's like a baby that's going to go out into the world, and it's going to represent your brand, and it's going to actually reach into the hearts and minds of women who are struggling, teachers who are struggling. And and one thing I was really passionate about as you were writing the book is there has never been a time in education where teachers are more burned out than right now.
Yeah.
Never in ever, ever, ever. And
Yeah.
not just school teachers, all the way around, just the
Yeah.
educational thing. I feel like that was my role. It was just holding the vision. When you had to
Yes.
get into the nitty gritty, I could just keep us focused on. I got to be a book writing coach, first of all. That was so cool. Thanks for letting me do that.
That was so
But
fun. Yeah. I
cool.
think we actually didn't mention that yet. So
Oh,
Lizzie did hire her to be so she was my first life coach back then for like a year and a half. And then we
for the
were,
postpartum stuff, yeah.
yeah, the postpartum
And
stuff.
with
And
a side of
then,
business because I love business. Oh.
yeah, I know. Well, and it was a lot of just my stress coming up, and you'd help me regulate my nervous system around it and
You
all
did
that.
so good. You're such a warrior. You guys, she really is just as impressive as she seems. I'm sorry if I can't burst her bubble because she
Oh,
really is.
Leonard, he has created over 500 articles on LinkedIn. He knows how challenging it is. Yes, it
Oh
can
my
definitely be
gosh.
challenging to get your writing out there. 500, that is
Well,
amazing.
and the way you get in your head, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe people already said this, or am I saying it wrong? Is somebody gonna catch me out and complain to my editor? I mean, there's so many things. Yeah, that's impressive. 500 is a lot.
Yes, so
Nice.
impressive. Hannah says it's a beautiful book. Hannah was one of our early readers, so
Thanks,
she's read the
Hannah.
entire book and she loved it. She's amazing. Thank you,
Aw.
Hannah. Jennifer started it last night. Excited
Uh-uh.
to read more tonight. Yes, I'm
Hey,
so excited for you to read more too.
yes. Me too. It feels like it's not my book, obviously, but I'm like, I feel attached to it because I slaved with, I was there for the hard parts, some of them, not all of them. I would love to know, and you guys in the comments, if you have read it, what stood out to you, whether it was a certain story Kelsey told or just a general energy of the book, or did you learn a new principle? If you want to share, I'd be, as we chat, you can think of something. Put it
Yeah.
down.
And feel free to share that anytime. We'll be circling back to the chat as we continue to talk and everything. Amazing. LinkedIn user, been trying to get mine together, but it's such a challenge. Yes. Trying to get your own
Yeah.
book together. Is that what you're talking about? I know so
Yeah.
many of us actually do have a book in us. It was actually earlier in January, actually, I did a vision board challenge with members of the Educate and Rejuvenate Club. And actually, quite a few people, I was like, in the heat of writing my book, and I like just talked about it as an example. And I was not surprised, but also it was like, I wasn't expecting it, but it was like a bunch of people like, oh yeah, I want to write a book too. I want to write a book too. And I love that. I mean, we can't have too many books out there. I feel like
No.
a book is really a way to see into
Yeah.
my sister. Actually, my sister's writing a book. Her
Oh,
name's Tori. Her name's Tori LaRue, by the way. It's going to be about perfectionism, and what I've read is really good.
amazing.
But anyway, she posted a quote on her page the other day, and it was like, a book is a window into the author's soul or something like that. Like, it really is a glimpse into, especially when it's a book like this, what I've written is a self-help book for educators, essentially.
Yeah.
And it really is like a glimpse into what I've learned from my own personal development journey, which was while I was in the classroom and then transitioning out and then homeschooling my children
Oh,
and,
so much.
just
Pivoting a
yeah,
business
a
during the pandemic.
pandemic. Yeah, a lot of different things. And the great thing is the framework that came out when I was writing, and Lizzie actually helped me with this. Granted, I mean, I came up with the framework, but what
Yes.
she did was she asked me, I remember you gave me this homework because I was so stuck. Do you remember this moment where I was just stuck? I was like, I feel like I'm just writing randomly. I'm writing about our thoughts. I'm writing about our nervous system. I'm writing about our feelings. Then I'm writing about creating an intentional schedule. It just feels like this randomness of a lot of principles we talk about as coaches, but I'm like, how do we actually put this together? And so you helped me. You're like, okay, well, what if just everything you taught, and if you were teaching it in the order that you generally teach it to your clients? I can't remember the exact words you used. I feel like I should have pulled up that Google Doc
Oh, that's fine.
to refresh. But basically, I did this huge thought download of a bunch of questions. And I think the big one was really just like the order.
I
Yeah.
really just had you get out of your head and into your heart. I know that sounds sappy,
Yeah.
but they're two
But it's
totally different
true.
places to
Yeah.
write from. And you were here and you were consternated and you were a
Yeah.
little bit meta. Instead of being present with the thing you were writing, you were like thinking about how it was all coming together and you were up here above it. So I'm pretty sure we did some breathing. If you know
Yeah.
me,
We did. We
we do
did.
breathing. We get into the body. I'm all about the body knows all the truth. The body holds all the messages. We just need to get that soul back down into that body. So we did that. And then Yeah, and then I think I just asked you questions that really helped you think about your person, like the person you were writing to. And I think what that did is it got this creativity. Is that a creativity flowing?
Creativity, yes.
Creativity. I'm like coffee drunk.
Words are challenging at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Funny things happen when you're away from your kids at this hour of the day. Anyway, so slurring your words. But yeah, I think we just got into service mode. And it wasn't that, it's hard to write a book. It's hard because you're thinking about the project, but you're also thinking about your person, but you're also thinking like an editor a little bit. And so I think I just helped you get back into that seat of you were connected with your heart, your mission, and your person. And that's when, and I think I just asked questions to do that. And then we got in your body.
A ton of questions. Yeah. And then I actually had my Kindle Scribe, which if you know me, I love my Kindle Scribe.
Girl, I have seen her on that thing. I've seen her on that thing in a hotel room. We went to a conference together for funsies, as friendsies. And I was just like, actually,
and we met Gabby Bernstein, which was amazing.
Yeah, we saw Gabby Bernstein. We got to meet her. We manifested seeing Gabby Bernstein live. If you don't know who she is, she's a spiritual mentor lady. Anyway, we actually bought my son a Kindle after I watched you with it. Yeah. You were like giddy. Yeah. She finds the sales and she's so good at it. You like manifest cheap books, dude.
I mean, what I do is I just have them on an Amazon list, and part of my morning routine is to go through and see which books dropped in price. I mean, it's just part of the routine.
Whatever you do, keep it up.
But the reason I was mentioning it is because I write on it too, right? And it was like 12 pages of me like, what is it I would teach and in what order? And then it was like, oh, it became super clear because what it was doing is trying to figure out like, oh, there's all these individual tools, but it's kind of like, okay, when is it you use each one? And that's when I came up with the whole observing yourself, because that applies to your thoughts, your feelings, and your nervous system. And I think we had talked about the word observe too. It's a very popular word in the coaching sphere in general.
Yeah, but you need to give yourself credit because you were not like, what do coaches say? You were like,
right.
What would my person understand?
Yeah.
How can I say, like, you constantly were, I mean, you guys, this book is so tailored to you. It's a silver platter of the best of the life coaching industry and the most intimate lived experience of a teacher and a homeschool parent, both, and someone who had a mental breakdown in her personal life. And it's only the best stories from that, only the best learning from that. And it's so teacher friendly. And I'm so impressed by it. And honestly, Kelsey brought in some things I didn't know. And I've been a life coach for 6 years now. And it was so fun to just look at how hard she did research. She really held herself to a high standard, I felt like.
I mean, and part of it was even I turned in my first submission. And this is the great thing about how I worked with teacher goals too, because I turned in my first submission. And so I'd write something as like, oh yeah, and this works this way. And it was something we learned in our certification with Brooke that you and I did, or just that I knew from coaching and whatnot. But they'd be like, cite your source. And I was like, oh, what's my source for that? And so I had to actually dig in and do further research. And I learned so much in new research that I did for the book as well.
Oh my gosh. And you had to manage your time like a pro with your family. It's not like
you're writing on top of running a business and my family and
personal life stuff come up and you just like stuck with it. You guys, I honestly you really could do a behind the scenes, teach your people how to stick with writing a book. There's so many people here that are trying or they have the idea. I think it'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Linda says the review of the coaching call steps, CTFAR. Yes, the self-coaching model. And CTFAR stands for circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. Lizzie was the one who actually taught me the model. and now I'm teaching it to all of you.
Model, mommy.
Aww. You are. No, I remember. I don't know if you remember. I can't remember how long you'd been coaching when.
Like 2.5 years probably.
Okay, so it was a little bit, but you were like, I just had my designer make this pretty thing of the model. I don't know if you remember. I think it was Felicia who made it, and you sent it to me. And so I then printed it out and hung it up, and I was like, this is just magic. And then I remember sharing it with one of my friends who's a therapist, and she's like, oh yeah, that's cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was like, oh, I thought I discovered this amazing, but I mean, it is an amazing new thing.
And that's what I love about this book. If you guys are going to read it, is you need to have your own experience. There's a difference between intellectually being like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You have a circumstance and then a thought. But in the book, she gives you so many examples that take you on the inside of it. And you're going to have your own moment where I call it higher consciousness. Like basically, I
Yeah.
feel like what's the things that you put in this book, some of them are proprietary to you. Others of them are maybe a little bit more gathered very specially from the life coaching industry. But it's like, ding, like all of a sudden you can see a thought differently. All of a sudden you can have a new vantage point and you can solve a problem that's been stumping for months or even years. I remember the very first time I ever used this particular tool, although you have some other really good tools in your book that I love also, but it was during my episode of postpartum depression. So I just can't emphasize enough like the potency of what's in the book. I'm really proud of you. It's really awesome.
Oh, Lizzie, you're so sweet. I love how the book turned out. I'm actually so proud of it. It turned out even better than I could have imagined.
Oh, one of my passions and something that I feel like I really helped bring to you in your life was the nervous system, getting into the body stuff. And that definitely made it into the book for sure in your own flavor.
It did.
In your
It
own
did.
flavor. You want to talk about that for a second?
I do. And I feel like that's something I've even this year been like getting so much better at too. And I feel like writing about it helped me to do it better.
Let's tell
Like,
people what it even is. They're like, "Nabada-bada, what?" So
they're like, what about the nervous system?
the nervous system. Can I be teacher for a minute? Can I play teacher?
Yes, you can. I can get another drink while you do that.
Yeah, because the frog is going to crawl out of your throat here in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. But side note, my favorite, first of all, my mom was a teacher, a public school teacher. First, she did mostly first grade, I think maybe second grade too. And then she had all of her babies and decided to be the mom teacher at home. But my favorite game to play when I was little was classroom and teacher. And I would be the teacher and I had all these students and they were either my stuffed animals or they were just invisible. And I would go to great lengths. I mean, I would make a worksheet with my on the paper and then make copies and then put 30 copies or I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 copies around the room. And then I would grade them all. And I loved the feeling of all the work of a teacher when I was little. So funny. Oh, now I homeschooled 2 kids. So that's fun. And then one of them's in a Montessori classroom and she loves it. So anyway, let's talk about the nervous system.
You're like me. We go down rabbit holes. Like,
well, I officially have ADHD, guys.
We were just talking about that today too.
A whole other conversation.
Whole other conversation.
A whole other one. But if you don't know, basically, this is very oversimplified. That's not oversimplified, but it is simple, but that's good. So we have 2 settings as humans. We can be in fight or flight, like survival amped up mode, which isn't necessarily bad, but it does draw on our hormonal reserves. And so we only want to be there for a little bit and then we want to recover. And that's the other mode, is sort of rest and rejuvenate. What a fun way to use that word. So we're going to restore.
I love that word.
Yeah. So we have 2 modes. Are we amped up? Are we chilling? And the most problems happen when we are not aware that we're actually still in that fight mode, even if we're doing supposedly relaxed things. Or another thing I hear from moms a lot is they know intellectually that they need to rest. And so they go try to rest. They go try to take the bath, try to go to bed early, and they can't sleep and they're wired and their brain's going 10 places. So what can happen is you can get stuck in the fight or flight mode without meaning to, without even wanting to be. And there's a such thing as cortisol addiction. Cortisol is your stress hormone that you use a lot of when you're in that fight flight mode. You can actually get addicted to being in a state of cortisol response. It's so messed up because it's hard. You got to know how to go in there and manually flip gears. So just like a stick shift car, right? You got to know how to crank that baby in reverse and be like, beep, beep, back it up. You also got to know how to go from the one gear to the other. And especially as women get older and they have babies and their hormones, and not just women. I happen to work with women a lot, so don't mind if I mention women a lot, but even men, hormones change as we get older. And also if you've just been dealing with a lot of stress, I'm just telling you, your life as an adult human being will be so much better if you are not doing this already, if you learn even just a little bit about the basics of the nervous system, which this book, if you're a teacher or an educator or a parent that educates, honestly, this book just puts it in such a great way. And
there's a whole chapter dedicated to
and I remember
it.
being like, wait, we got to make sure we get all this in here because this is so good. And she nailed it so beautifully because she lives it. And so anyway, it was really Cool. And I hope that you guys, when you read this, you don't just have an intellectual experience. I hope you actually have a body shift. I hope you have a gear shift. That's my hope. That would be great.
Yeah. And that is the goal and that's why actually, and Lizzie, I think I'm going to be showing you this for the first time. And some of you, if you've been on other lives, you might have seen it, but not
That's
only do you
so
get,
pretty. What
I have to grab the physical book to show everybody too. That's why I went off screen again for a sec. But so you get
the
the book,
workbook.
right?
Oh my
But
gosh.
there's also so many bonuses. This is the PDF workbook. I printed it out and bound it because I'm a total teacher and I have my own laminator. I have my own binding machine,
Of course.
Anybody else have their own laminator and binding machine? I mean, or if you don't, like you would do it at school
Come
or
on, fess
Staples or
up,
whatever.
people.
Come on.
Don't
But
be ashamed.
look how thick this is. Okay. I just kept going. Like every exercise in the book or like idea basically made it like here's
right
24-hour
now.
observation. Look how many questions, so much journaling.
You guys are gonna love this. You're gonna get all teacher giddy about this, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, so you can actually do and apply. And again, don't feel like, oh, that's overwhelming. I don't think I can do it. You are the boss of yourself. You get to choose if or how much of this you do, but also you could do like 5 minutes a day and just work your way through it. And that way, you're not only just passively consuming information, but you are able to actually apply this work and do it and really get in touch with it. Because what I found, and Lizzie, you mentioned this to me, and I feel like I really caught on to the model first when we were coaching. The embodied stuff came with time, and then journaling. I feel like once I started writing, it's crazy what comes out when you write versus just when you talk or when you think, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
really something magical about writing. And that's why there's so much journaling, so many questions.
Even research
Here.
on the nervous system says that when you put it out in front of you, like when you use your hand and you put it out in front of you, you get space between you and the emotion or you and the memory. And that space is where healing can happen, because then instead of being in it, you're looking at it. And now you can make more of a response versus a reaction, because it's like taking over your body. So that space is everything. Like in coaching, we call it holding the space, because I'm holding a space for you to take it out and put it here so you can see it. Or maybe I'm verbally reflecting it back to my clients. And then your body literally feels different. And my hope is that especially if you get the workbook combined with the book, that you're going to have it.
Well, the workbook comes with the book, by the way.
The workbook comes with the book because you are looking at a teacher who made a book.
It's a package deal. Yeah, it's one of your bonuses that you get.
Teachers love
the mobile app that has 3 guided meditations and videos that go with the workbook that explain the exercises. The book club, like so much that you're getting just by buying a book. You're basically getting some coaching with the book.
Speaking, I do want to, can you just briefly walk us through the framework? Because it's been a minute since I've gotten to hear it. I got to be in it when you were really, really creating it. But like, what is, when you say, if you get into this work, it's going to help you. What is the work for teachers? What have you created?
Can I literally show you?
Of course, hold it up for the class, Kelsey.
I know. I'm going to just be a real teacher here for a moment. I mean, I am a real teacher, but you know what I mean.
Expect anything less.
Okay, so the framework. So here's the book. And the framework is I got to get it in the right spot. Here we go. So 3-step framework. So first is to observe yourself. So it's for paying attention.
Can I give an example? So you say the framework, I'll give an example.
Yes, let's do it.
And then you say if I'm right or wrong, because you're the teacher.
Okay, so observe yourself, Lizzie.
An example. Okay, listen. Observing yourself sounds simple, but we all know that we get caught up in a reaction, right? And so let's say you're in the classroom and you have a teacher, or sorry, not a teacher. You have, I don't know, a supervisor that's there watching you teach. And then there's
your admin.
Your admin. Thanks for the language of the teachers. And then there's like a 5-minute break. The kids are doing a worksheet and the admin maybe comes over to you and shares their notes with you. And there's something that's just a little bit of constructive criticism and it kind of bothers you. And so so now you're in front of the class again and they're still there observing you and you're kind of peeved, right? And so that is the moment where you would use this step. You would observe yourself. Okay. So you're stepping out of being in the storm and you're looking at the storm and you're like, what's going on? So we're taking inventory of the moment, maybe my heart, and specifically what really helps is get into your sensations. So what's happening in your body? So my heartbeat's pounding. Obviously you're going to be having a lot of thoughts, but sometimes trying to get into the thoughts when they're going fast and you're angry or there's a lot of emotion actually kind of ensnares you deeper. They're sticky. So just go to the body, stop, drop, and get in the body. And it's like, oh, my jaw is clenched and my heart rate is up and I have a tickling, niggling thing in my stomach. Like, okay. So that would be the first one. Observe yourself.
But yeah, you're noticing it. And then we talk a lot about having a lot of compassion as you do it and not trying to fix it. It literally is just observing it. You're not doing anything else about it at that time. And then after that, oh, and it doesn't say here because we haven't gotten there yet. So then when you get to section 2, I will show you. Let's see, it's after chapter 5. I know that much. So section 1, this is the other thing. The observe yourself is 5 chapters. The other 2 are 3 chapters each. And there's a reason for that. Is because observe yourself is really like the foundation, right? And we continue to do it.
It's the moment you become conscious. It's like how many of us are living and teaching from an unconscious, almost like the way you get when you're brushing your teeth. You've done it so many times, you're unconscious.
Like rote, like just going through the motions.
That is unconscious, flipping through the channels, unconscious. But the observing yourself actually turns on your consciousness. And from a place of consciousness, you get to make change. You get to become in the driver's seat. And so it's actually harder than it sounds, but it's the change maker. So that's why there's 5 chapters on it.
And like I mentioned, that's the reason why there's a staircase, but it's not like, oh, you moved on from this. I want to make sure it's kind of layered. This is still the foundation of this step. We're just adding on, more like riding a bike with training wheels and you're learning the steering, the pedaling. And then when you take those training wheels off, you're still steering and pedaling. You just now have a habit of that, right? So we're adding on. So next we choose our direction, right? So that's when we start to get more intentional. We start to look at what is it that I really want and not just going through the motions. We talk a lot about the different people pleasing we do, the manuals we have, which is a concept you'll learn about when you read the book.
Kind of.
I know. This is what you learn when you read the book.
It's all of the programming that we haven't looked at.
Yeah.
So when you observe yourself and you calm your body down, like we just talked about, and you start to chill a little bit more, then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just projecting this onto this person, or why do I even need to be mad about this? Do I even really want to be mad about this? Do I really need to ruin my day over this? It's just that moment where your inner adult is like, okay, I'm going to make an executive decision for Team Kelsey or Team Lizzie.
Yeah. And one of the things they even talk about when I introduce the what do you want is actually that scene in The Notebook when like Ryan Gosling is like, do you remember?
No, I just think he's hot. Sorry, what?
Talented. And talented, yeah. He's Knuff.
What is Knuff?
From the Barbie movie, right?
Knuff. Sorry.
Knuff.
Yeah. I just had to remember that he was also in the Barbie movie.
And jumping movies too quick, jumping decades too quick, right? You're like, wait, we're back in like
I think you're just sharp. I just think I'm a little like dull. Anyway,
so Ryan Gosling and Rachel. Moral of the story of this book. Just kidding. No, Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, right? And she's like, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've watched the movie. I just remember this scene where he's like, what do you want?
What do you want?
And then she's
like,
what do you want?
It's not that simple. It's not that simple. What do you want?
Stop thinking about what he wants, what your parents want, what I want. What do you want? That's what he says.
I love that.
Something along the lines of that. And really, it's because we want to make our students happy. We want to make our admin happy. We want to make our spouse or partner happy. We want everyone else around us to be happy. And we think it's because we won't have that love and belonging that is so essential to our needs if we don't make everybody else happy. It's honestly, in a way, kind of like a safety thing, right?
It's a freaking trauma response. And some of us have been in it since we were little kids, and we have not yet introduced our inner child to our inner adult and let the inner adult take over. So many of us, including myself at one point. And even still, sometimes I flip back and forth. And so this is all part of it.
All part of it. So then we talk about thinking more intentionally, right? Because a lot of what we talk about is how our thoughts, like that self-coaching model, that again, we're not going to get into all of this tonight. That's why you snag a copy of the book, teachyourgoals.com/ educate-bonuses. You will get all the bonuses. Unpopular opinion, but the movie of The Notebook was not that good. Read the book, so much better. The book is always better. So
See, guys, tonight's
I
all
take
about
your
reading
word for
books.
it.
Read the book
Reading
for The
books.
Notebook. Read, educate, and rejuvenate. Read the book. The moral of the story, read the book.
Read the book. Okay, and then let's move on to the third part of the framework. The final step is to align yourself, right? You observe, and then it's almost like you're creating the map, right? You're choosing your direction. Then align yourself is when you're almost like, okay, this is what I've chosen, and now I'm aligning myself with it and making sure that what I'm doing in alignment with the direction I want to go. And I'm also reassessing and being like, is this still the direction I want to go? Because it's a constant like cycle of doing all the things, right?
Yeah.
What do you,
Let's go back to the example in the classroom, right? So you get
yeah.
peeved that your administrator said something that was PV, whatever. And then you observe, step one, observe yourself. You notice all the fireworks going off inside your body. And even just the act of observing will help you be more calm. So if you turn the lights on, you become conscious, right? Observe yourself. Number two, what was number two again? It was choose your direction.
Choose your direction. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're going to make your executive decision. You're going to tap into your inner adult. You're going to be like, what do I actually want here? Is this worth my time and energy to be mad about this? And if it is, that's fine. Let's go have a productive conversation. So your administrator comes in, says a thing, observe, right? And then you make your executive decision. And she's going to coach you a lot on that in the book. So you'll get more guidance for that. And then number three is align the rest of your stuff and the rest of your choices and the rest of your life with this decision you've made. And this is where the maintenance mode comes in. But let's say maybe 2 hours later, that admin pops back into your classroom and has one other little thing to say. And, you know, you want to say a little snidey, passive aggressive comment, but you're going to align yourself. So you're continuing to stay in conscious mode. All right.
You did perfect. So what Lizzie said, she did a great job.
Okay. Can I read this great one from Hannah? Can I start?
Yes. Like, yeah,
Please,
let's
teacher.
put it on the screen.
Do I need to raise my hand? Okay. Hannah said, in response to your question, Lizzie, which I asked everybody to share something they've learned from the book. She said, the reason the book has been so meaningful is because it solidifies in my mind every single thing I have learned in the club with Kelsey. And as I have gotten to know Kelsey, it's so full of her vibrant personality. And that is also something I love about the book. So excited to meet you, Lizzie, because you are to Kelsey what she is to all of us.
Isn't she the sweetest? I love Hannah.
Some more, guys.
I swear the people who come to our Educate and Rejuvenate community are just like amazing. Like,
yeah, maybe I should hang out with them.
Such great people.
Maybe I should like fish for friends in your community. Yes,
okay.
I'll do it anytime.
Who designed the great cover for your book? So Trisha Fugelstad, she designed the cover.
And what's your publisher again?
Teacher Goals. Yeah, they were in charge of the cover, and Trisha Fugelstad is who they had design it, and she did great. She's also one of their authors. She wrote a children's book called Peter O'Meter that is adorable, but not just adorable. I mean, the art is just so great, but it has like STEM, it has social emotional learning, it has augmented reality and all this stuff. Lizzie, you should definitely check it out. Your kids would love it. Okay, where can I get the book? So the link at the bottom of the screen, teachergoals.com/educate-bonuses. Really, you can look it up on Amazon and get it. There's Kindle, there's paperback.
You just Google Educate and Rejuvenate Kelsey Sorensen. You can order it wherever it pops up. But right here, teachergoals.com/educate-bonuses. And then you'll get the workbook with it, right?
And there's actually a link in the book to get the workbook and everything too.
Jennifer said, if our brains are not in the executive state, then learning doesn't happen. When in an emotional or survival state, then one cannot focus on learning because something is missing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And this applies to us. It applies to our students and our children too. So yes, regulation is so, so important.
You know what? Real quick with that, I get excited about the impact that a regulated teacher through reading your book.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you need more help, Kelsey does coaching in her program, but through getting this work in your bones, the impact it could have on the entire vibe of your classroom, not to mention the influence on your children in the classroom, because there's this thing called nervous system syncing, right? Because humans have mirror neurons. The energy of your classroom, you guys probably already have experienced this, or maybe it's not your classroom. Maybe it's just your kids at home. Maybe you run a homeschool co-op, but the energy as human beings, even though we can't see it with our eyes, we totally feed the energy of the room. And so if you're not loving, and obviously children need to take accountability for their actions, and it's not all you, but it's a factor. And so it's just one way to help the whole classroom potentially is through you reading the book, getting starting to make change in you.
Yeah, and I've just loved seeing, like, I've even noticed on these lives, or especially with those who have joined us in the Educate and Rejuvenate Club, and we'll be talking about a concept. And then naturally, without me even saying, like, how do you do this with your students too? They'll pop in the chat, oh, yeah, I do this with my students. Because when you make such a habit of something, it comes naturally that you
Yeah.
then teach it to the kids too,
Yeah.
or to those
Yeah.
around you. There's a ripple effect
Yes.
that happens when you do this work, and it's so powerful. And it's just kind of like Hannah was even mentioning. So I learned all this stuff from Lizzie, and then what did I do? I'm now teaching it to all of you and writing a book and teaching it to my kids. And so when you learn it, who are you going to teach it to? And it's just going to be this ripple
Yes.
that ripples around the education world, the world in general, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it.
And one more last little thing with that, which is that, because this is my passion, is the spiritual awakening. I have to tell you that so many people, once this, Kelsey's would be like the first step. It's the nervous system tempering, getting into those habits, the self-regulation. That is often when, whether you want to call it a spiritual awakening or a shift in your consciousness, whether it is like, oh my gosh, I want to be a digital nomad, or it's like people, there's this rejuvenation, this energy, this rejuvenation that comes through your body when you get all of the things working properly. So her book's going to help you get everything working
Yeah.
properly. And then there's just a whole side of life that people don't typically experience until they do this foundational inner work. Our mission, my husband and I, is to show the world what the new world can look like, how new life can be lived. And your company is doing that too in your framework, because you're helping
Yeah.
people get regulated, and a lot of times you can even help people make more money, because that's another side effect, is people are getting more regulated, and then they come up with new ways to create revenue or income.
Well, and that's why we've like started having side hustle calls in the Educate and Rejuvenate Club, because we've noticed a lot of the people who, like, once they start doing the coaching, they're like, oh yeah, I want to do something, and then they'll ask questions like, what do you want, side hustle calls? And people like that, so it's fun. Okay,
This is just the beginning. Possibilities are limited.
do you type or write longhand? So for actually writing the book, I type it out, but like when I was doing a lot of brainstorming, I would write. But what I would love is I would write on my Kindle Scribe, which then will convert that into text, but I can write on it. So that's what I would do.
So, moral of the story: get a Kindle Scribe and buy the book too.
Moral of the story. I love my
Just
Kindle
kidding.
Scribe. Okay. I bought the book on Amazon. How will I get the workbook? You might have heard me, but just in case, there is a link inside the book to get it. Also, I will, if you go to that teacher goals educate bonuses and fill out that form, it'll send you an email about it. I love what Hannah says. This is kind of about alignment. It is similar to how we monitor and adjust in the classroom, and we must do the same work on ourselves. And that to me is alignment.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. What was the children's book again? Oh, my friend Trisha Fugelstad. She's the one who designed the cover of my book. That one is called Peterometer. So that one is a great book. Definitely check it out. I feel like I struggle with my own kid more than my students when it comes to schoolwork. I feed into the energy when it comes to homework. Oh, yeah. And our kids, they can feel our energy, right?
Oh my gosh. I have a whole episode on that on my podcast. It's called Nervous System Syncing. But I am in it first, and even like bedtime, if I'm resisting bedtime and I'm just sort of like, get away from me, get to bed, they become more needy because I'm dysregulated. So they seek my reassurance to calm them down. They want to co-regulate. Co-regulation is when I, as the adult, am regulated. I'm calm. I've got my needs met. Our children, if they're dysregulated, maybe they had a hard day at school, they want to be calm. They basically borrow our nervous system calm to help them get calm. Because children, I think it's up until age 8, they don't actually have the ability to calm themselves. They have to co-regulate. So anyway,
yeah.
so if you teach young kids at school, you definitely want to know this stuff.
By the way, I would love your rating if you've read the book, or if you are just starting to read. You can even just put like, I love what I'm reading so far. I'm so excited to read it. It just really helps Amazon push the book out there when you leave a review, by the way. So for those of you who already have the book, you're excited about the book, I would love and appreciate if you leave a review. It would make
Wow.
my whole day. We love it.
Aw.
We got amazing people in our community.
Thank you guys.
Oh,
So fun.
Thank you so much for your time here, Lizzie. This has been so much
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
And again, snag your copy, teachyourgoals.com/educate-bonuses. If you have any questions,
Yes.
send me an email at hello@educateandrejuvenate.com or DM me on Instagram. We'll be happy to help you. And we'll chat later.
Yay! Thank you
Oh,
guys.
Lizzie, hang on. We gotta tell them where to find you. She's
Okay,
on
so
Instagram at
yeah,
Lizzie.postpartumcoach, right?
Lizzie.postpartumcoach on Instagram. Although I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been on Instagram as much because I discovered Substack, and it's like an app for writers.
Oh,
And I am like obsessed with Substack now. So I'm on Substack, just Elizabeth Langston, and then also my podcasts. So I have the Postpartum Coach podcast has over 350 episodes that are totally free, and it's a lot of mental health and nervous system and even spiritual
mhm.
stuff too. And then I have Restoring the Feminine, which is my newer podcast, and it is for deconstructing patriarchy and finding your way spiritually and in an authentic way. And yeah, and that's what I write about on Substack too. So it's amazing and I love it all. So you can go check, they're on all the major platforms, and I would love to have you for sure. I even have some freebies for postpartum women. I've got a womb healing ceremony that's good for women at any age. And frankly, I mean, I know men don't have wombs, but it's just like your relationship with creativity.
Thank you, Lizzie. Okay, everybody, hopefully we'll see you soon on another live. You're all amazing. We'll chat later.
Bye.
I hope you loved that interview with Lizzie. She is such an amazing person, such a big heart. Make sure to check out my other interview with her on the podcast if you loved this one. It's episode 43, How to Be a Better Teacher by Taking Care of Yourself. Lizzie has so much wisdom. Make sure to follow her. So good. And honestly, it's because, like we talked about in there, of my initial work with Lizzie, that I began this journey, that you're even listening to this podcast, and that I wrote this book, Educate and Rejuvenate, that I'm holding in my hands right now. And the reason why I'm able to host this winter event that we're about to announce tonight as you're listening to it, and that I hope you attend. So don't forget, if you're listening to this live, to come to the reveal party today. If you're listening right as this episode hit this morning, like on your way to school, come tonight. It's going to be a great time. But if not, make sure to go to educateandrejuvenate.com to learn more about the event. Again, I can't spoil it here today, but next week I will share more information. But either way, again, today we're talking about the book since the event hasn't happened yet. So please take a moment to check out the Educate and Rejuvenate book if you have not yet. If you're still listening, because if you're still listening, that means you were gaining something for this episode. You wouldn't have kept it running if you weren't. And if you found this episode helpful, the book is going to be like 1,000 times more helpful. There's so much in here, so much goodness. We really go deep into the stories and everything we talked about. There's the workbook that not helps you only like just kind of listen leisurely, but like really put all of this into action and have it make a difference in your life. So again, check out the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Target online. You can buy it any of the places. It's called Educate and Rejuvenate, a 3-step guide to revitalize your teaching, renew your spirit, and reignite your passion for life. And if you already have a copy, if you've been reading it, it would mean the world to me if you leave a review. We've had lots of reviews start rolling in, but only a small percentage actually do leave a review, and it only takes a moment, and it makes such a big difference in us helping get this work to more teachers, so more educators, homeschool parents, admins, any kind of teacher can learn how to do all these things that we've been talking about. It really helps Amazon push it out to more people, and my publisher will promote it more as we get more reviews. So again, it means so much to me when you leave a review. And here's one that just came in, just so I can share. This is from Kim Roden. So thank you so much, Kim, for sharing this review. You'll see it right on Amazon. Currently, it's the top review, but they tend to rotate them. It's called Great Read for Every Educator, a verified purchase. She says this will be a bestseller in the education field. Like when I read that, that just made my day. I'm just like picturing it like, oh, bestseller. I mean, and it was like when it came out, it was like on the bestseller in education. I guess you could say that already happened. But she says, as a former teacher, Kelsey understands our needs. She knows how easy it is to want to give up, but she rejuvenates and revitalizes our soul. Real life examples and ideas are included. She was writing this for me and about me. I loved her 2023 and 2024 summer conferences, and now she will be guiding me into 2025. She provides more opportunities to help educators grow. I can't wait to see what comes next. Congratulations on such a well-written and much-needed guide. And that's what this book is. It is a guide for you. And it is going to help lead you into next year, into 2025, or whenever you're listening to this. So make sure to snag a copy if you haven't yet. If you have, please leave a review. It means the absolute world to me to leave a review on Amazon. And even if you didn't purchase your copy on Amazon, you can still go and leave a review. That's where it really matters the most, because that's where most people are buying. We have a big goal of hitting 50 reviews as soon as we can. And when we hit that, we will be sharing a free resource with our entire email list. And for our members who already have all the resources, we'll do another Starbucks card for all of our Educate and Rejuvenate Club members. So it means the world, the collective effort of all of you leaving a review. Again, you can only do it one time, so that collective effort is going to continue to reward everyone as we hit more reviews. So once we hit 50, we'll do one for 75, and once we hit 75, we'll do it for 100, and so forth. So again, this collective effort of leaving reviews on the book is going to help us help more teachers. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you next week. We've got an awesome episode with the keynote of Educate and Rejuvenate coming next week. I can't tell you who it is because I can't tell you yet. So you'll find out next week and learn more about the event. So we'll talk then. Thank you for joining me on Educate and Rejuvenate, the podcast today. If you love what you heard in this episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you're hungry for even more, be sure to check out the book that I wrote. It's called Educate and Rejuvenate, a 3-step guide to revitalize your teaching, renew your spirit, and reignite your passion for life. It takes everything you learn here on the podcast and that I teach our members inside the Educate and Rejuvenate Club into a guidebook you can refer to again and again. One of our early readers said it was like clarity for her brain. Plus, it's not only a book. With your purchase, you'll get a full PDF guide with exercises and links to videos and more so that you can not only consume but apply everything that you learn. If you're ready to make Educate and Rejuvenate not just a podcast you passively listen to, but a lifestyle that you put into action, it's time to grab your copy on Amazon today. Or head to educateandrejuvenate.com/book to read the first chapter and the introduction today.